Coming up, we're talking about aliens. Disclosure Project. Have you ever heard of it? This is the smoking granddaddy of the aliens. And discoveries found under a Mayan temple. Up next on Talk is Cheap. Welcome to Talk is Cheap. The cheapest talk, talk is cheap. Today is a big granddaddy for me, Disclosure Project. Have you ever heard of Disclosure Project?
No, actually I haven't, no.
This is like the #1 thing that fucking blew my mind. Like, my world literally like stopped for like 2 fucking days. Like, I couldn't believe it. My jaw dropped. That's how insane this was.
Really?
Basically, the Disclosure Project is a group of, like, these are high-level people that have been in the army, the military, and the dark projects that are saying, hey, this stuff is real, and I will swear under oath to Congress that everything I'm saying is true.
No shit.
And it's like, holy shit, this stuff is real. And that's where it took 2 days to adjust, and then it's like, oh, of course it's real.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So it was that pinnacle moment where you realize that,
holy shit, there's something to this.
That's awesome.
And it's like, it's not tinfoil hats from a trailer park kind of witnesses we're talking about. This is legit stuff.
Yeah,
and
I've wore a tinfoil hat, though.
Does it work?
Yeah, no. It looked funny, though.
I think you know where that came from. If you wrap your phone in tinfoil, it blocks the cell signal.
Oh, yeah, definitely so. Yeah.
So that's side issue, of course. But let's dive right into this, and I'll let Mr. Greer, Stephen Greer, he's a doctor, but he runs the Disclosure Project, and he basically quit being a doctor to pursue this because he knows this is an important thing, and he'd bring this out to the public because it's not about little green men. This is about the energy and propulsion systems and stuff and how they get here.
Oh,
That's why it's such an important issue. But we'll start it here and let it speak for itself.
Well, I'm really interested.
And people of the world. We are here today to disclose the truth about a subject that has been ridiculed and questioned, denied for at least 50 years. The men and women who are on this stage and the some 350 additional military intelligence witnesses to the so-called UFO matter and extraterrestrial intelligence can prove and will prove that we are not alone. I would like to thank Sarah McClendon, who is with us today, the famed White House correspondent, for her sponsorship of this meeting. Thank you very much, Sarah. In 1993, a group of military advisors to this project and I met out in the countryside in Virginia. And we decided that it was time for civilians, military, intelligence, and other people to come together to disclose the truth about the subject which is called UFOs. Since that time, I have personally briefed a sitting Director of Central Intelligence, James Woolsey, President Clinton's first CI director. I have personally briefed the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, the head of Intelligence Joint Staff, members of the Senate Intelligence Committee, many members of Congress, members of the European leadership, the Japanese cabinet, and others. And what I have found is that none of them are surprised that this is true, but they are uniformly horrified that they have not had access to these projects. We can establish through these witnesses whom we have identified, which now number over 400, and these are people who have been inside the CIA, NSA, NRO, Air Force, Navy, Marines, Army, all divisions of the intelligence and military community, as well as corporate witnesses, contractors to the government. And these are folks who have been involved in so-called black budget or covert unacknowledged projects. These unacknowledged special access projects are taking in at least $40 to $80 billion per year.
Fucking crazy, huh?
And
Holy shit.
they are sitting on
Your tax
technologies
dollars.
that can change the world forever. The reason we are coming forward now is that we are asking for the U.S. Congress and for President Bush to move towards an official inquiry and disclosure on this subject. It has the most profound implications for the human future, for the U.S. national security, and for world peace. Specifically, technologies connected to UFO and extraterrestrial vehicles, if declassified and used for peaceful energy generation and propulsion, would solve the looming energy crisis definitively, would end global warming, would correct the environmental challenges that the Earth is facing. It is also critical that we begin to debate as a society the propriety of placing weapons in space. If indeed, as we can prove, it is true that we are not alone and that space is territory which we are sharing with other civilizations, it could be a very imprudent, destabilizing thing to place weapons in space. This is not being debated because it is off the national and international radar screens. It needs to be placed on it, and we are here today to do it. We can establish through this testimony that these objects of extraterrestrial origin have been tracked on radar going thousands of miles per hour, stopping and making right-hand turns, that they use anti-gravity propulsion systems, which we have already figured out how they work in classified projects in the United States, Great Britain, and elsewhere. That these objects have landed on terra firma, at times have been disabled, and have been retrieved specifically by teams within the United States, that extraterrestrial life forms have been retrieved, and their vehicles have been taken and studied thoroughly for at least 50 years. We can prove through the testimony and documents that we will be presenting that this subject has been hidden from members of Congress and at least 2 administrations that we are aware of, presidential administrations, and that the Constitution of the United States has been subverted by the growing power of these classified projects.
Thoughts?
I'd like to see his proof. I'm being straight up honest with you. You know, he says that, you know, there's proof and that there's 400 people, which is amazing. And I can't disprove or I can't say that I don't believe him, but at the same time, I'd like to see more.
This, I wanted to clarify too, this was back in 2001.
Okay. So is this,
Think of how
this is
long
14
ago
years
that
ago?
was.
Yeah.
And it's like nothing has happened. They have this bunch. We'll get into this more later. There's actually, he has a guy witness that comes up that did alien recovery.
No
actually
shit.
fucking the bodies and stuff. And a guy that was at NASA. But the media, how it was going, the media wanted to run with this, but they were told, hey, basically threatened, you can't fucking run this story.
By the government?
By whoever's pulling the strings.
Really?
Because this is so huge that, like you said, we could end the energy crisis overnight.
You know, that'd be really nice to do.
So let's go through some of the witnesses here, starting with, this is a pilot.
I'm a retired Navy commander, pilot, had a top secret clearance. 50 years ago, February the 10th, 1951, I was flying from Keflavik, Iceland to Argentia, Newfoundland. It was at night, it was dark. About 300 miles outside of Argentia, I saw a glow on the water, like approaching the city at night. As we approached this glow, it turned to a monstrous circle of white lights on the water. We watched this for a while. The lights went out. There was nothing on the water. Next thing we saw was a yellow halo, small, much smaller than whatever it was launched from. And that was 15 miles away. up to our altitude. Because of the trajectory, I disengaged the autopilot, shoved the nose over to try to go under this thing. And at that time, I heard a noise underneath. I thought maybe it hit us. It was actually some of the crew members ducking, and they collided, and a couple of them were injured. Then it appeared over to the right and moved out slowly and flew with us. It was still not at our altitude, but we could see the shape of it. It had a dome. We could see the coronal discharge. I went back aft, let the other pilot, Al Jones, take my seat to see what the passenger's reaction was. Came back to the cockpit, told him not to report anything simply because what the psychiatrist had said to me, maybe they would lock us up. So basically, the instruments in the cockpit, we had 4 or 5 failures in the area of magnetic compass, the electromagnetic effect, in the area of directional finders, and this type of thing. The craft was tracked by radar in excess of 1,800 miles an hour. It never did get to our altitude. We had 31 passengers, plus the psychiatrist and the crew members that all cited this at different areas. When we landed at Argentia, Newfoundland, we were interrogated by the Air Force, an excellent interrogation, Captain Paulson. When we landed at the Naval Air Test Center here at Patuxent River, we were required by Navy intelligence to make out individual reports. Out of the National Archives, I have the 18-page official Navy and Air Force report. I've made up a report to straighten out all the truth. There's a stack of books out there this high that have written all of this up. So the truth is here. I will testify under oath before Congress that everything that I have said is true.
So, okay, it's kind of your typical, okay, I saw a UFO, but this guy, the whole thing I wanted to show that was, this ain't a tinfoil hat guy in a trailer park. This is a fucking pilot that knows what is what.
Oh, yeah, yeah. He's not going to be faked out by some, you know, Aurora Borealis or something.
Right.
Yeah.
But the plot thickens here when we get to this guy here.
Good morning. My name is Karl Wolfe, and I was a precision electronics photographic repairman with a top secret crypto clearance in the United States Air Force. I was stationed at Langley Air Force Base in Virginia. In 1965, in mid-1965, I was loaned to the Lunar Orbiter project at NASA on Langley Field. Dr. Colley was in charge of that project. They had problems with a piece of electronic equipment that was bottlenecking their production of photographs. I went to the facility, and when I walked into the facility, there were scientists from all over the world. I was stunned, actually, to see people at a NASA project from all over the world. It didn't make any sense to me initially. I was taken into the laboratory where the equipment was malfunctioning. I couldn't repair it in the dark. I asked to have it removed. Airman second class was in the dark room at that time. I was also an airman second class. I was interested in how the whole process functioned, how the data got from the lunar orbiter to the laboratory. Asked the young man if he described the process to me. He did. About 30 minutes into the process, he said to me, in a very distressed way, by the way, we've discovered a base on the backside of the moon.
Fucking crazy, huh?
And then he proceeded to put photographs down in front of me, and clearly in these photographs were structures, mushroom-shaped buildings, spherical buildings, and towers. And at that point, I was very concerned because I knew we were working at compartmentalized security. He had breached security, and I was actually frightened at that moment. And I did not question him any further. And a few moments later, someone did come into the room. I worked there for 3 more days, and I remember going home and naively thinking, I can't wait to hear about this on the evening news. And here it is, more than 30 years later, and I hope we hear about it tonight. And I will testify under oath before Congress that what I'm saying is the truth.
Testifying under oath. You know, if they get that many liars together, fucking give them a hand. I don't know.
Well, you know, the only thing I could say, like you said, getting that many liars together is they get enough people together and they say, hey, this is what we're doing. I think you're bound and determined to have a few people jump up and be like, "Oh, I saw something," even though they really didn't, just so they can be on that bandwagon. But if this was a bunch of civilians, the trailer park tinfoil hat guys you're talking about, I can see how that could be. But since we're talking about pilots, people in the Air Force, I mean, these guys have built a career out of being in the military or being a pilot, and they're going to jeopardize all of that to go in front of Congress. So that they kind of hold water.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And well, you've been looking at photographs on the moon lately too.
Oh yeah, I have
seen some weird shit up there.
Yeah, I really like the backside of the moon. They have a photograph, and I don't know if I have that up, but where they have that V formation of lights. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things in the world because they're photographing the backside of the moon, and yet there's 7 lights. Of course, it's gas radiating from somewhere.
Gas from
there's swamp gas on the moon that's reflecting lights.
I'll skip past this next one. This lady basically went to NASA too, and then she was told that they airbrushed the photos and stuff. But I want to get to the real hardcore one coming up here since we're kind of short on time here. This guy made my jaw drop because this is like the smoking gun. Like, you can't get any closer to the fucking truth than touching the body.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clifford Stone. I was Sergeant First Class, United States Army. I had a secret clearance with nuclear assurity. I could get the clearance that I needed to do whatever it was that was necessary for me to do at the time on special operations when I was called in on those. What I'm referring to here is that I was involved in situations where we actually did recoveries of crashed saucers, for lack of a better term, debris thereof. There were bodies that were involved with some of these crashes, also some were alive. While we were doing all this, we were telling the American public there was nothing to it. We were telling the world there was nothing to it. I'd like to go into detail on some of the cases about the nuts and bolts cases right here, but I will be available if you have any questions concerning my involvement in this. You can talk to Dr. Greer to arrange for me to get to talk to you. But the whole situation is, we've set back, we've told the American people that there's no such thing as UFOs. I've been involved where we have recovered these objects. We know them to be of extraterrestrials. In 1969, I had an event that happened to me while I was stationed at Fort Lee, Virginia. We went to Indiantown Gap, Pennsylvania. That would be my first exposure to any time that we would be recovering an unidentified flying object. When we went there, we already had people that was already in the facility. We were a backup team, which was supposed to be MBC because there was supposed to be some nuclear materials that was on board this craft. Later on, most people involved were to be told that there was nothing on board it. It was nothing more than just a crash of one of our aircraft. I know better because I was one of the people that approached it with a Geiger counter to get surface readings. I was the first person to go ahead and see that there were bodies on it. That would be the first of approximately 12 events. UFO crashes are not events that take place every day. They're rare. I know we're not alone in the universe. I know that the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. It's evidence that has been denied to the American people. I stand before you today in my almighty God, and I tell you this. If Congress calls me in and says, will you testify in detail what you know, I stand here today prepared and ready to do just that. Governments must never lie to the people for no reason. Thank you.
Pretty fucking huge, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy, isn't it?
Fucking right out of the horse's mouth. The guy that did the recovery.
And these are really bold statements to go ahead and say, I will go in front of Congress and I will talk to Congress. I mean, that's
why it was so jaw-dropping for me when I first... I discovered this back in 2006. Mm-hmm. And I was like, holy shit, it's true. What's going on? My world stopped for 2 days. And then I realized, of course, we're not alone. Why would we be the only ones? And then once I got past that, then you realize, hey, it is the technology. That's what they want to suppress because you lose control and money.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
We'll do the wrap up here. And then there was a good question that one of the people in the media asked. But if you guys ever get a chance, I'll put the link in the description. Just watch this whole video. It's fucking mind-blowing.
For probably anywhere from 2 to 5 hours about what they have witnessed. We were trying to give you a snapshot. We have another 400 of these witnesses. 400. I have carried this burden for 8 years. I'm now giving it to you, the American people and the people of the world, to take it forward. What I'd like to do now is open the audience for questions from the media. You may address them to me.
So, what Greer here was saying, he actually thought, like, okay, he does this conference 2001, gets it out there, it should be taken care of, he's done, he can go back to work. Well, that didn't happen, obviously.
Obviously.
God.
He blew the whistle and it just failed.
And there's a real good question here from the media that really shocked my world. He asked the guy that did the body recovery, Clifford Stone, about what the aliens are like, basically. Let's see what happens.
You said that you had seen aliens on a craft that had crashed. I wonder if you could describe what they look like.
I could, but it would probably take a whole lot of time. The reason I state that, when I got out in 1989, we had cataloged 57 different species.
57 different species catalog. What did he say? 50. When did he get out?
989.
Let's back that up.
The reason I state that, when I got out in 1989, we had cataloged
1989, 57 different races of aliens visiting this planet. It's like, what? How many are there now?
But that still pisses me off, because if there's 57, you'd think one of them would have came down and like presented themselves to the public.
Here he goes.
Somehow. Oh, okay.
He's going to go into it farther.
Well, good.
Well,
good.
Here we go.
57 different species. You have individuals that look very much like you and myself that could walk among us and you wouldn't even notice the difference, except for some of the things that they might be able to go ahead, even in a dark room, and touch an object and go ahead and identify what color that object might be. They would have a heightened sense of smell, sight, hearing. The situation is that you have various types of what we normally call grays. We didn't call them grays in the military.
Grays is what usually.
You had at least 3 types of the grays. You had some that were much taller than we were. The unique thing that I'd like to point out for the most part is that the entities that we did catalog were in fact humanoid. Now this created a situation where the scientific community was trying to figure out why that would be the case, because you would expect that if life evolved on other planets, that they would take on some type of other being, so to speak, not necessarily look humanoid or be bipedal such as we are. But apparently we got quite a few of the species out there that are humanoid in appearance, and that creates a question that yet has to be answered by science.
But he is right, like, why are they mostly like look like us, arms and legs? But there is a race out there too that's looks like a grasshopper.
That makes sense. I mean, considering that insects are built better than we are,
right,
with the exoskeleton and everything else. I mean, if you were to...
But even, like, you know, some movies, they portray an alien as, like, a blob or something. It's
well,
like,
yeah, exactly.
You don't really see that. Like, this real shit, like you said, they're all mostly humanoid.
Which is interesting because they're saying that life could evolve where it would breathe in, it would breathe, you know, hydrogen or something instead of oxygen and that type of thing. So, I mean, it's interesting that there's 57 and 89, 57 different species. And it still pisses me off. Where's the damn mothership that's going to fly over and land in Chicago?
See, I think the bigger thing is they can't really do that because they'll... What is most of the public going to think? We're under attack. It's going to be like a fucking Independence Day, like, scary scenario for the majority of the public. It really is.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
So they don't want to scare us.
Well...
They do the orb thing. You saw the orbs in New York, right? That's a little ways to just...
Yeah, I don't know.
There.
I'm just waiting for the mothership. It just pisses me off. And if they don't hover over the White House, we shouldn't have an issue. That's the only thing everyone remembers from Independence Day.
Did you see the UFOs over the White House?
No, I didn't see the White House.
Or maybe it wasn't the White House. Maybe it was the, what's the other thing in Washington? The, isn't there a big...
There was a Washington
Not the monument, but it's like where the assembly is.
Oh, the Congress, White House.
Yeah.
What the fuck's that called? That big white fucking
People
building.
are going to think we're stupid now.
It's too late. But anyway.
I'll roll that footage over there so you can see it. But, yeah, there was UFOs that just went across behind the building in formation.
No shit.
Lit up at night.
Oh, what did they say it was? Helicopters?
I don't even know if there was a... I think a lot of local news reported on it saying, oh, it was a UFO.
No shit.
That's what it is.
That's what gets me, because we get inundated with that. They're constantly saying, oh, there was lights, there was a UFO, and yet they still think that people are going to go completely nuts over it. And I can see why, though, because if you were to say, I mean, when that whole Ebola thing was brought to America, people, they got, a little crazy, some of them did. Now, I prepped. Don't get me wrong, I bought some water and some food and those types of things just in case I had to be indoors. But I think there's a difference between, like, say, prepping to get ready for something and versus going completely damn nuts and buying, 40,000 shotgun shells and 14,000 gallons of water and trying to put it in your basement and those types of things. So I can see where the government might say, if we show them that aliens exist, there's just going to be this whole epidemic of, this rash of people being stupid. But at the same time, we have movies, cartoons, we have books. I mean, there's aliens. We're being hit by it all the time. Don't you think it's about time now where I think we're at the point where, hey, aliens exist? I don't think it's going to be a surprise to people. I really don't. I think it'll be like, hey, there aliens exist, and we're going to be like, we knew that shit already.
And I think that's kind of what they're doing. They're just waiting for the public to be ready for it, and then maybe they'll release it.
I mean...
They're going to milk... Let's put it this way. They're going to milk their fucking oil and all that gas shit out as far as they can, because that's power and control.
That is true.
That's really why this hasn't been out. If it was about little green men, this would have been out a long time ago. I really do.
That's true. Technology side, I can see that. And especially the government side, the military, the DOD, having a vehicle that can go 1,800 miles an hour, circumvent the whole earth in a minute or some shit and drop a bomb while doing it. We don't want that to get out.
Exactly.
We really don't. And I could understand that. Whether or not it's true, I don't know. But at the same time, I can see where the government would want to retain that type of information. But fuck, they're already doing that with a bunch of shit now. So telling us that the aliens are real, I don't think's an issue. I really don't. I think maybe the government's ran by a bunch of old men, and they still get scared if they don't wear pajamas to bed. Maybe, I don't know. They still wear the whitey tighties, and they don't know what boxer briefs are. In which case, if they can't handle that truth,
they're old fashioned.
Yeah, really old fashioned. So that being said, I mean, I don't know. I'm still waiting for that fucking mothership. That's what I want.
I don't know if you're gonna get that.
I want a fucking alien to walk up to my doorstep, ring the doorbell, and ask me if I want to buy some fucking girl alien scout movies or something.
They don't want to scare the hell out of us. That's the thing.
I ain't gonna be scared. That's the thing, man. Come on. I'll hand them a beer.
You're not.
I'll sit back.
But what's the average people gonna be like? Oh my God, they're here to kill us.
That's probably the only thing that can knock on my door, and I won't grab a gun. It's an alien. Oh shit! I'll put it away.
Speaking of which, let's just keep this real short. But we know about Project Bluebeam.
Bluebeam.
Project Bluebeam is a declassified project by the government to stage an alien invasion via holograms in the sky.
Well, that's no fun. I can't shoot them.
But that's where the whole martial law thing comes in. And
oh, no shit. We're going to have to do that one later. That sounds like fun.
That's for another show.
That's for another time.
So, shocking. Disclosure Project.
Yes.
Look into it some more. The guys are still... They still got their website up, and, the witnesses are there. Look at it. It's pretty comprehensive stuff, when you look at it. And Stephen Greer, he takes people out in the field, and he actually brings UFOs in with your mind. It's called a CE5 contact. Maybe we'll do that sometime, see what happens. Yeah. But that's for another story. So what do you got for us today?
Today's video that I picked up, since we're doing aliens and whatnot, was the 350 alien artifacts that were found. I think this was Mexico. And all it really does is, I can't remember the doctor's name. We'll have to put it in the comments and the below. But what this is, I don't know if it was this video or the other one I had, but one of them is, or both of them are about these artifacts that were Mayan, apparently. And
these were, where were these discovered?
These were discovered in Mexico, Mayan, pre-Mayan, right around there, underneath a pyramid. Oh, wait, these are the ones underneath the pyramid? We have to listen to it for a second, because I have two of these, actually, and that's the problem. One was the latest one that I put up, and I can't remember which one it is, because both of them had the same thing. But the Mexican government went ahead and had just released these artifacts, and they're pre-Mayan or Mayan. They were found underneath the temple, and they show the alien faces. Yeah, these were just recently released. Yeah, so let them
Is there any talking on this or no?
I think it's all text, for that matter.
Let's just go ahead and mute it then. So
you'll love these, man.
So this is they found these like under the Aztec pyramids.
These Aztecs came along long after the Maya.
Maybe I should have a little ambience there then.
Yeah, you'll love these. Whether or not they're real, I don't fucking know, but...
See, that's the problem. Did they dig down to get these?
Yeah, see, the other one I read... Yeah, the other one that I had, I must not have put it on the list, were actually found underneath a Mayan temple.
Are these bones?
They're apparently rock.
So it's just like carved.
Yeah, so these are all artifacts that the Mexican government has. I don't know if there's the same one, but the Mexican government just released some too. And they look a lot like this if these aren't the same ones, because that doesn't have the dialogue that I had before. But that looks like an old piece of bone or rock, and this is what they're finding. I mean, these are artifacts. Apparently, they've dug these up. Now, they could have been faked. I don't know, but I just find it interesting.
So the Mayan people just sculpturing
And the thing with the Mayans, when it came to the the astronomy, they were so further advanced. I'll put it this way: the Mayans were so advanced when it came to astrology that it was, almost mind blowing. They knew more about it than we did 50 years ago. The long count calendar was all about our solar system being in line with the center of our galaxy, which no one else has come up with until, just recently. And it's crazy. So I personally believe these ancient societies had some kind of interaction with aliens. And I can't say it was at that time. Maybe the ship didn't land and helped them out, but maybe it was passed on from an earlier civilization. But then when you have these types of rocks and fragments and these stones that are carved into, and what we're seeing what we take for granted as the Greys and the traditional aliens. The problem with these artifacts is it wouldn't be impossible to go ahead and forge them. Like video is the same way. When you get a picture of a UFO, you're like, the guy could make that in his back, in his basement. The only thing with these is, I mean, you'd have to be a pretty good forger, and there's a shit ton of them. There's not just one or two. If you can plainly tell, you know, we've probably seen at least 50, 60 of them, all different. The artwork's different. That's a lot of forgeries.
Yeah, you can basically show that they're in a spacecraft there. Is basically what they drew or whatever.
Yeah, that one there, it looks like he's actually like he's in that bubble. They're just kind of showing it. Which, you know, I don't know. That shit pisses me off then, though. And they walked and lived amongst us, and they will again soon. How the fuck do you know?
But as the other witness said from the other video.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
They already have. Yeah. They look like us.
I think that's it.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Now that we blew you a fucking
I'm
mind.
out of Wiener Head. Cheers, you.
I mean, in closing, I you know, if I were to say, you know, when it comes to the aliens and whatnot, you know, the Disclosure Project, I mean, that's excellent stuff.
That's fucking huge.
That is really great. When you have that many people that want to testify, that want to say I've seen something, you got to put water in that glass. There's something really, you know, truthful about that. You know, and the thing of it is, for me, whether or not these people are lying or they're telling the truth,
I guess my thing is, what did they have to gain from lying? Like, really? It's like, there's nothing to gain except, oh, wow, he says there exists, and then, well, if they don't exist, then he's a big liar. Well,
right.
What good is that?
And that is true. You know, and I have to say, you know, looking at these old artifacts, and I personally believe in that misplaced archaeology, things that we find in archaeology that don't make sense, you know, those types of things. There's something going on. And if people came forward, those 400 people came forward and said, I want to testify, and the government didn't do anything to disprove them, it kind of proves them to be true. And all of them, it kind of, you know, if I'm the government, I'm sitting there and 400 people come up and say, I believe in aliens, I believe it's true, and I want to go ahead and I want to testify. If I want to disprove the guy because I don't believe in aliens and I have nothing to hide, I'm going to be like, sure, you know, come on up, you know. But when they go ahead and they're constantly like, oh, well, you know, we're not going to talk about it, and they tell the media, don't put it on TV, you've just proven those 400 people correct. If you were to ask me, you know, if you want to disprove aliens, then go ahead and disprove them, but then do it the right way by saying, okay, we're going to put these guys on, you know, lie detector, polygraphs, or whatever, and you know,
and they just said that they would swear under oath in front of Congress.
Yeah.
That's huge, really. It's huge.
It is, and there's another video, I'm going to try to find it, of a prime minister or something in Canada, and he's retiring, and he's up there in front of the Canadian government saying, there's aliens. I want to go ahead and tell everybody I've been working for the government for X, Y, and Z amount of years, and there's aliens out there. And you know, what I got out of that video, and I hope to find it sometime, is this panel of people in the government. And they're all like taking notes.
Sitting there like, no big deal.
Yeah, taking notes like, oh yeah, we've heard it. Have a nice day. You know, and here I am like, this guy staked his whole livelihood, like his 40 years or 20 years or whatever it is in the government. He stakes it all to say, there's aliens, we need to know it. He does state in there that the United States has like this monopoly on alien technology and, you know, this and that. And I could believe that. But he goes ahead and does it, and, you know, it doesn't get CNN, it doesn't get MSN, it doesn't get any major news networks. It goes ahead, you got to watch it on YouTube, and it doesn't go any further. And it's kind of crazy, which makes me, that's the reason why I believe there's intelligent life, and it's probably here. I'm not going to say it's not. I'm not going to really say it is, because like I believe, but I'm skeptical enough that I want to be able to shake its hand or see it or whatnot. I don't want to be probed. I'm okay with that. I don't know if that's true or not, tin hat, whatnot, but you know, ultimately, I want that truth, but then...
See, here's one thing, too, about Stephen Greer. Mm-hmm. He basically says that there is no bad aliens, which I don't totally agree with that. Because,
yeah,
you know about the reptilians, and you said you don't know if you believe it or not, but they would be considered the more bad race. And the Greys, there's good and bad. It's like kind of like people, you know, you get good and bad of both.
Oh, yeah.
But, he says... they're all good, so I don't know how he can just come out and do that, but...
That's like saying all people are good.
Yeah.
And I know some assholes out
exactly.
there. Yeah. So, I might be in a cold one once in a while, too. I don't know.
That's what happens when you're a supervisor.
No, I think it's really interesting. I like the Disclosure Project. I'll have to watch the rest of that. I thought it was great.
Huge.
Yeah. And then, like I said, I got a couple other videos we have to definitely go over then too that kind of fall in line with that. Now knowing that was so important to you, it's I have a lot more that we can talk about later. Oh yeah, it's really cool
I like fucking smoking gun hard evidence. That's
oh yeah.
I like fucking.
I have to find that British guy or the Canadian. Well, he sounds British, Canadian, British, all fucking same. They ain't. Anyway.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. This has been Talk is Cheap. We'll see you next time.
Have a good one.